remember 20 years ago, I was a freeway flyer. And I came out of Berkeley with my bright, shiny PhD and was ready to set the world on fire. And the only jobs I could get were adjunct professors. And so I would start my day at San Jose State. That was my morning. And then I would get in the car and I'd drive to Santa Clara. And then later for evening classes, I'd be in Berkeley. And I'd end the day absolutely exhausted. And I did that for 4 years, and you know, the most money I made in any one of those years was $14,000. $14,000 with no benefits and no job security, just going from semester to semester. And my husband and I decided, you know, we'd like to have a family. We'd like to have a home, you know, nothing fancy, but just some stuff, you know, for our kid, raise our kid. And so I had to make regrettably, the unfortunate decision, very sad decision, to leave academia. And what put it over the top for me was one day I was running off the Xerox machine. I guess we don't call them Xerox machines anymore, but anyway, it shows you how old I am. But I was running off copies for my students, handouts. And the department chair came in and he said, well, Richard, you know, we just had budget cutbacks. And so from now on, you have to pay for your own handouts that you give your students. And I said, dude, you're barely paying me enough money to run my car to get here, and now I got to buy my own handouts. But I knew then, and what it came down to was just a sense of, you know, my own self-respect. Just my own sense of dignity as a creature made in God's image. And this is not how God intended for me or any of the others to be treated. And so that kind of put it over the top. That was, I guess, my tipping point, that moment. But I've thought about it many times since then. Why was it so? There were no unions available to help me at the time, people like me. And I kept wondering, you know, why was it so hard for us as adjuncts, there were a number of us, to get together and to raise our voices? And I think there were a couple of reasons. One was just, you know, when we're all flying up and down the freeway all the time, it's hard to get a critical mass together to even have a conversation. So there's a structural problem. But I think there is even a deeper problem than that. Maybe a cultural problem, a problem of the soul. And that was, I think, that each one of us carried a very profound sense of shame. This is my fault. And I remember talking to faculty members, my mentors at Berkeley, saying, well, Richard, look, you got an awesome PhD, you got a book published, you got articles published in journals, great reviews in all of your classes, and you can't land a stable position? Something wrong with you, dude. That's the message, and it was cultivated. And I think all of us, you know, I find when I was talking to other adjuncts, you know, just that sense of, yeah, I must have screwed up here. This is my problem. It's not your problem. It is not your problem. Okay? And that's what I think that's a very deep cultural problem that we have to wrestle with, you know, if we're going to be successful organizing. So one last thing is just, I'm a priest, so I got to say this. You know, from an ethical standpoint, this sucker is a slam dunk. This is simply a matter of basic human dignity. And I'm so glad that Pope Francis is repeatedly speaking about this. Especially, it's not just an option anymore, organizing. It is absolutely essential, especially with the growing inequality. Absolutely essential. And this is one of the first and foremost places that it has to happen. My church, I'm happy to say, the Episcopalians, we're coming through with, you know, pushing for the $15, you know, minimum wage and all these other things. I'm pretty happy with what we've done. This is good. And so I hope you know you're among friends, and we're all in this together. We got to do this. So thank you.